ahead, please. Dave on the left side.
Dave McBenamin, ESPN. Kyrie, we spoke to LeBron earlier, and your step back three with 25 seconds left. He just shared that after the game, you were, I don't know, beating yourself up over it or kind of dwelling on it a little bit. I don't know that you've had a night to reflect on it. What do you think of that possession? How it went?
Well, there's like a natural shock that how that game ended, and naturally you want to blame yourself because you feel just awful about because it didn't go in, so it necessarily wasn't the right decision, and you have so many other options, and you start replaying that play over and over. And for me, it's a comfortable shot, but then you also understand the energy level that it takes in order to make that type of shot, and what it demands out of your body. And I just didn't give it enough. It was online. It felt good coming out of my hands. But even for a tough step back like that, it demands more out of my body and out of the focus. And it wasn't there for me. And that was just very disappointing. And when it's a do-or-die game like Game 3, you want to make that play, not only for, your team, but just for your confidence. And, I'm always constantly unwavering with my confidence, but that type of shot you want to nail. And after the game, it hurt, you felt like you let your teammates down because you didn't necessarily make the right decision. It didn't go in, so, yeah.
Chris, the third row in the middle.
Chris Haynes, ESPN. Kai, what you and LeBron did as a duo was crazy. Have you thought about what it's exactly going to take? Like, it seemed like you guys gave it all and did what you could do. What more can it take to get one?
Well, we've definitely been beating on that door throughout spans of games of, rattling them a little bit and making them uncomfortable. We've raised up our physicality, especially in Game 3, limited into some of the things that, they were capitalizing off of between Game 1 and 2. And then Game 3, as we watch film, there's still things that we can correct that would make it a lot easier to create a separation that we need in order to propel us to a win. But one thing about that team that you can't necessarily prepare for is how they keep coming. They keep coming at all times, and whether it be a three-pointer that is out in transition or off-leg shot or something like that doesn't look necessarily comfortable, you have to realize that all those guys in that locker room are capable of making those type of shots. And, we witnessed, a closing game by Kevin Durant that, you can't prepare for. It's just big-time plays after big-time plays that he was making, and he was comfortable. And we tried to make it as uncomfortable as possible, but this is a make-or-miss league, and we understand that, because if that three that he pulls in transition goes the other way, then I mean the whole conversation could be different. But he nails a big-time shot like that. He was gutsy enough to take it and to create that separation that they needed in order to win. So, you give credit when credit is due, but as we prepare for Game 4, we know that there are still some things that we can get better at and correct and make them feel a little bit more uncomfortable.
Next question in the middle row towards the back.
Kyrie, Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. You mentioned the physical challenge of that, the emotional weight of the moment yesterday. With the quick turnaround for Game 4, how do you sort of get cranked back up to the level that you need to be at to compete against this team in this situation?
I mean, well, from a physical standpoint, you just try to do everything possible to recover. But from a mental standpoint, there is no other option other than to prepare for Game 4 as best you can. I mean, that's it. This is as much as it was for all the games. This is as do or die as possible as I've ever faced in my career. So, we understand what's at stake a whole entire season, and there's really no other decision other than to leave it all out there.
Quick follow-up. But after as difficult an ending as there was last night, does that increase the level of difficulty in getting back to that level, or does it make it easier that you have the quick turnaround?
I mean, you just can't let the emotions linger on. I mean, as best you can. Like I said, there's no other choice. There's no other choice.
Next question, Joseph, on the left side.
Joseph Gasharo, The Score. Kyrie, you talked about the challenges, obviously, that the firepower the Warriors have present. I know usually players will say that as long as their team takes care of their own business, they'll be fine. But when a team has that much talent, do you almost need them to at least play somewhat below their capabilities for them to be beatable?
Well, part of that we can control. But like I said, some of those things that you can't necessarily prepare for, of having some special players that make some special plays. But yeah, it definitely does matter in terms of controlling the things that we can control and doing at a high level. But we understand the team that we're playing against. But at the end of the day, what really matters is how together we are as a team and how we respond.
Scott, the second row on the right, excuse me.
Kyrie, Scott Sargent, WFNY. You've had some pretty memorable one-on-one stances with Clay. The Christmas Day turnaround, even last night with the baseline runner with the and one. Do those moves you pull on him in those instances, does that play a role into your decision? Like at the end of the game where you did end up taking the step back, like just to show him something different that he might have telegraphed from an earlier matchup?
Well, in those moments, you have to be very definitive in your decision making, because he'll capitalize on a lot of things if you're second guessing, or if my foot placement isn't right, or if I don't give him a good enough move to create space. He does a great job of eating up that space. So, as I'm looking at the score and we're coming down and we have a chance to get a score, that'd probably be the hardest decision that I probably have to necessarily swallow with my pride, because looking back on it, I did have a lane going to the basket, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that a three will create that separation, and we put the pressure back on them. I wouldn't change it, wouldn't change the decision, but at the same time, I know if I'm ever in that moment again, how much I need in order for that basket to go in.
Final question to Mark, fourth row in the middle.
Kyrie, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. You talked about Kevin's guts taking that last shot. I mean, one of the things about your game certainly is your guts to make and take tough shots that no one else would attempt, the creativity in your game. When you're facing an opponent in which every mistake that you make, whether mental or physical, they make you pay, how do you play with the same creativity and guts in that situation?
By just tunneling in some grit and understanding that the belief that you have in yourself and your teammates and your coaching staff, that regardless of how big the moment is, I mean, you have to trust everything that you've worked on and everything you've put into this game. It may not always come out as a success, but most people will never even think about taking that shot, because they would concede to being fearful of those moments. Some moments are disappointing and some moments are just exuberant. They're just awesome. But you got to be able to live with both, and you got to be able to live with those decisions. So the creativity and having that confidence, it's unwavering, man, forever. It can't change. But if you do get on the disappointing end, then how you respond and how you are in those next moments will really dictate who you are. So I try to keep that same mindset going forward, that if I stay who I am and stay true to who I am, then everything will work out.
Thank you, Kyrie.